Sahaya Mary is well known to many of you. Sahaya Mary has a great knowledge of the forest, and just this current week, you can see the flowers at the back of the room. She had to go deep into the forest to get, the lilies, because it's so dry, even in Kodi, there's so little rain.
This is just a casual interview with Sahaya Mary about to highlight the importance of forests and how it plays a role in her livelihood.
Mother raspberry March, April, May raspberry season, yellow raspberry இருக்கும். அதுக்கு பிறகு மஷ்ரூம் ரெயின் வந்தோன்னா மஷ்ரூம் வரும். மஷ்ரூம் கொஞ்ச நாளைக்கு பிறகு ப்ளூபெரி போய் பறிக்குவோம். ராஸ்பெரி ரெட் கலர் ராஸ்பெரி இருக்கும். அந்த காலத்தில் எல்லாமே நிறையா இருந்துச்சு.
How do we create value? I think it's the information transfer that needs to happen. There needs to be a quick turnaround. So we do research and it's in silos, I agree. But how do we connect to people?
We found that the budget for the plains was about 5% of the municipality budget, versus the budget in the hills needs to be around 25%. And that is something we found in common across all these hill stations. And so there are unique stories that belong to ecosystems that really matter, but these are not being told.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kurunji is a tribute to the region which is very, very close to my heart. Highlighting the produce from this region is important for preserving cultural traditions, supporting local economies, and promoting sustainable agriculture.
See, last August, me and the Honorable Minister, we were in Kodai Chronicle. And we were stuck to travel about 5 kilometers, we were stuck for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes in fact. And he told me something very interesting. He told me Kodai Chronicle is a living example of urban planning failure in drainage, failure in traffic management. I think it clearly shows what's wrong with the society. I think it was very spot on when he said that. According to World Bank, we need about 300,000 urban planners, and we currently have only 5,000 urban planners. And we are talking about 8,000 cities and towns and about 4 lakh villages. So how are we supposed to plan? Even if you look at Kodai Chronicle, do you think the municipality there has capacity?
Sometimes you can get people like me who have the luxury of professional expertise and passion to break through that a bit. But eventually it's going to need a lot of support from NGOs, from individuals, from people with enough motivation. So if we have the right people with the right skill set, the right mindset, the ability to put in some time and effort, the right people to do the financing, then platforms like Sky Island, I think, will add a lot of value, because sometimes you have to hold the mirror up to government, and then some of this will have to be done through the courts, because a lot of politicians don't have the courage to take difficult decisions. That nobody wants to bar the total number of vehicles because it's not a popular move.
I come from the other side of the non-government organization. That's pretty much where I've been all my life. And while, sir, you're right that there is a lot of inertia in government, I think there's also a lot of apathy from citizens that's equally to blame. And a democracy is by the people, of the people, for the people. So we have to be actively involved. And I have personally seen when citizens are actively involved, doing something, change can happen.
The Nilgiris, the hill station Nilgiris follow a larger pattern across the country in that they were set up by the British and they were very colonial, while in Kodai Chronicle it's not. It's an American hill station, and that's frightfully different in terms of approaches. And while there are major conditions that obtain that are similar across this region, I think we cannot afford to miss the point about the social construct that bring these into place. And I think particularities need to be acknowledged as much as connections in order to forge them in some sense in a way that's practicable and thoughtful.
We can look at Ooty to see what Kodai Chronicle is going to be like, because 100 years back what happened is what we are following now. A lot of the climate change impacts come from the east. So in each landscape in the Nilgiris, there's a rainfall gradient from west to east. So in the east of Nilgiris, some of these endemic birds like the Nilgiri pipit has already kind of vanished. So if you go from Kotagiri to Kodanad, you don't see these birds anymore because a lot of the grasslands disappeared long back. But in Kodaikanal, a lot of the grasslands have disappeared, but it's very recent. So it's what we call, it's a extinction debt.
So tea is in a decline. So TAN Tea recently has given 1,200 hectares back over to the forest department. We have the famous Manjole case where BBTC's tea estate was taken over by the forest department. So these kind of things have to be actively pursued in entire Valparai landscape. If you know Valparai, on all three sides it is covered by protected forests. One is Paramikulam on one side, you have Valachil, and then you have Topslip, and Valparai is ensconced in between. The 100-year lease which a government actually gave it to the private estates is getting over. What is stopping our governments from taking over those land?
So that you can be assured that at least in the next 2 years in our regime, that policy is already in place. There's a comprehensive lease policy for the first time on government land, which is the people's resource. So that was already implemented around the time my portfolio changed. I'll make sure that it gets continued. And so a lot of these lands will have to come back to the people and be turned back to nature, basically.
One of the things I love about the mountains, and when you see photos, and I'm sure when all of you have been to the Western Ghats, is the perspective that it gives us. It makes us realize how tiny we are on this planet, because you see that massive perspective of how big the planet is.
Sky islands are endemic havens because speciation happens when a population splits and becomes isolated. My favorite species are the dancing frogs, which are 60 million years old and which have taken to dancing rather than vocalization because the torrential streams drown out their calls. So they actually do a really elegant dance with their hind legs to call the females to their side, and it seems to work pretty well. As a guardian group for the Western Ghats, let's hope that we can keep the frogs dancing.